Hello and welcome to the brand new season of Breaking Late. I'm your host Michael, and with me again for another season. I've signed him on for one more year. He's only on race by race contracts until he gets his CAMS license. No, JD, how are you, mate?
Not too bad. How about you, Michael?
Yeah, recovered from what seemed like a huge wait for Clipsal, and it's done. It's over.
It was. It was a very quick 4-day event. Actually, it was really good to see how much racing we're getting out of Clipsal these days. It's really
There was heaps. You had the
so
improved
much on.
productions, the GT, Australian GT, Super Trucks, the Dunlop, or the Super 2s,
Super
V8
2s, yep.
Supercars,
yeah. There's
Porsche Carrera Cup.
yep. Yeah, there was just racing going on all weekend and Thursday and Friday. It was amazing to see.
Yes, I had the advantage. Well, it's much of an advantage. I was actually crook Thursday, Friday, so I told by the doctor stay home, lay in bed, and watch the racing. So that's what I did, and loved it. Next year I gotta make sure I'm sick. No, what do you want to?
I don't know. What do you want to start on, mate? There's a lot to talk about from the weekend. Big statement from Red Bull, the Red Bull Holden Racing team and Shane on their title defence. That was amazing. You can't get any better than qualifying first for both races and winning both races.
Yeah, well, like he qualified number one in all the qualifying, and then got pole position on all the shootouts, and then won every race. I mean, you can't ask for a better title defence than that.
Yep. Is there any other highlights from the V8s that you...
No highlights, that's it. No, there's lots of highlights from the V8s.
It's hard to choose a few, isn't it, really? Another one that really stood out for me, well, obviously there's the Penske DJR, the straight line speed they were getting from the
that
car.
drive off the corner was
You
just
could just
amazing.
see the squat, and every time they come around turn 8, three-wheeling, getting one of the front tyres, and how soft the rear end was. No one else's car was set up like that, and it was... That'll be interesting to see in the next few races whether this setup that they've got is adjustable enough for them to suit other tracks, because it seemed to really suit this track. Their tyres seem to go off a lot faster than everyone else, but
Adelaide is a very different type of circuit than what we go to, and last year I do remember DJR came out and they were quite strong in Adelaide as well. So I think they've definitely improved their car from last year.
it is one of those things, isn't it? It's like the old HRT thing in the last few years. The only reason, you'd get HRT out there and they'd be really quick at Clipsal, and you're like, all right, they're back on the pace for this year. And then all of a sudden they drop off again next round.
It'll be
they're good
interesting.
at street circuits where they can get that drive, but they were not so good at flowing
Well, we
circuits,
go to Albert Park in a few weeks, so we'll see how that goes. That's going to be a track that I think will suit the Red Bulls a bit more than a few other cars.
I
Nice
think so.
flowing, but we don't see heaps of overtaking at Albert Park. It is a sprint race. We're only a support category when it comes to that track.
Yeah. Another thing I liked was Chaz being back with his original engineer, and you can really see them back at it again. They're just moulded, and he's going to be one to watch from that stable for the year. I don't think they have the pace in the car that they need, but I think he'll
I don't
definitely
think
be
any
one to
of the-
watch.
Any of the pro drive cars, this is something I want to touch on a bit later, but we can touch on it now. They didn't seem to develop their car as much as everyone else.
Well, and that's something I think, I can't remember which commentator it was, but I think it might have been Ingle,
Yeah.
commented on. He said, look, everyone else has got faster. PRA have sort of not moved over the last couple of years. They were the pace setter, and then they sort of stayed in the same
2015,
stagnant.
they were the car to beat.
They were. They pretty much, they should have won 1, 2, 3 in the championship, really. That's how fast they were. Unfortunately, Chaz had his accident, which was a big hinder to his championship, and Frosty come away with it. But it was one of those things. They didn't seem to move on from there. They got that new technology with the shock technology that they put in the car for that year that seemed to give them big dividends. But when everyone else moved to the same technology,
They didn't have that extra thing to push
they
them up
didn't
again.
Exactly. They didn't have that 1/10 or 2/10 a lap that gave them that advantage anymore. And now they've just seemed to have stayed at the same pace, and everyone's got quicker.
Yes. The Nissans look good too. I mean, they struggled a little bit during the race, but their pace during Friday and Saturday practice was pretty good.
I think they need some more consistency from the group in general. Like, But other than that, the cars are looking strong. Once they get it all correct and then, get a weekend together, I don't think any of them really had a strong weekend. I think they made a few mistakes, car setup mistakes, strategy mistakes. There was just a bit of a tatty weekend in general. But I think once they get it all together, I think they're going to be very quick this year.
Well, something that we haven't actually mentioned yet is everyone was running new tyres this weekend.
Big thing for everyone to get their head around.
Learning curves.
Yeah. Seems like Shane was probably one of the ones that got his head around the tyre life and
I
how
loved
to
his
stretch
comment on Saturday afternoon. Did you see that? Where he's like, they
Yeah,
basically
mate.
said to him, like, you're pushing the car so hard. He's like, I just wanted to see what these tyres could do, but you're not going to get any more data off them. I smoked them now.
Yeah.
He's back to doing his good skids again.
He is. He's stepped it up a notch, which is good. What other teams? Another one that was a nice surprise. I'm not a big Tander fan, but to see GRM to come out with such a positive, they're handicapped this year.
Yeah,
really,
they are. They very much are.
They've come in with this complete new car, and how positive the weekend was for them. Started off not very good, slowly built up,
Tander got into the top 10 shootout on Sunday.
I know, and which is really impressive. So that's a really good sign. It shows that car's adaptable and they're actually able to get the setup right on it too.
Barry Rogers come out and said, I think on the Sunday, he did say, the car's not how we actually want. Like, it's not perfect. It's not done. We want to be competing a bit further up. I think they were really competing around the 12th, anywhere between 14th and 11th. Bottom,
they
just
were
breaking
just out
into
of
the
10.
top 10.
Yeah,
They really wanted to get in the top 10. I don't know if they've finished. I'll
No,
bring up the
I
results
think they were
later.
just out. I think Tander finished with an 11th and a 13th, I think, off the top of my head, or maybe a 14th. But yeah, they're just outside the top 10 for the two finishes, but still really positive, I think, for a team that's you've got other teams there like Erebus and stuff.
Erebus Reynolds did a great job this weekend. He had the curb hop.
Yeah, which was unlucky and badly managed, I think, as well.
This is something we will talk about later with the penalties for that.
Yeah, we won't go too far into the curb hopping, but yeah, that cost him as well. But it just sort of put in perspective how well GRM did and Tander did this weekend. I think it really showed a bit of strength there. And there's a bit of a kick in that old horse still, I reckon.
Well, he showed us at the end of the year he can still pedal that car around.
Yeah.
He was out driving Courtney towards once he got that new car.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Once he got the new car and a bit of confidence in him, he was back at it.
When he needed to drive for his career.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just pump the brakes a little bit on the supercars and we'll jump over to Super 2s.
Super 2s, yep.
Now, this weekend, actually followed every race of the Super 2s. I was actually very excited for it, mainly because I'm invested in Bryce now. I really want him to do well, and shocking qualifying.
Their car problems did not pay well for the whole team actually.
Yeah, the Matt White Racing,
the two Nissans had problems and Bryce had problems in qualifying, which was a bit of a handicap for all of them. Real shame because his pace was looking so good this weekend in practice as well. I think something everyone's going to have to take into account too is Bryce was driving an old spec car,
one of three,
matching the pace of a lot of these guys in these new spec cars. It was pretty unbelievable effort from him.
Practice too. Bryce was 5th overall.
Yeah, and only less than 4/10 off the fastest lap.
And you've got Paul Dumbrell, which is he's racing that's the Triple Eight chassis that he's driving is actually Red Bull Racing spare chassis. So if something happens to Whincup or Shane's car and they need a new car, they just go Dumbrell, we need your car.
Yeah, which is understandable because Paul is a part owner of Triple Eight.
But then you've got Bryce driving an old FG that was Frosty's car from years back.
Yeah, yep.
He did a great job, but that's not to take away from Todd Hazelwood, who had a good weekend.
And that was another thing that was come out of this weekend was unbelievable. So happy for Todd to get up there and finally pull off that first win Unbelievable.
Get that monkey off your back. And he came out and he said he did so much work to try and stay in this. He 120 barbecue sausage sizzles last year to just try and fundraise to keep racing.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that a lot of these guys, even in the main game, unless you're with one of the big teams, you're pretty much paying to be there.
So these teams all run like businesses.
Mm.
So Matt White has to pay his mechanics and has to pay his rent and pay for the parts that go on the cars. So Bryce and all these other people have to pay to be there. That being said, they look for good sponsors to try and help with that. But a lot of these teams, a lot of that money has to come out of their own pocket or families' pockets, or sausage sizzles and raffling and stuff like that.
Mm.
It's one of those things that needs to be a little bit more support for some of these up and coming drivers like Todd and Bryce, and that really sort of struggle to get out there, but they get out there and they show some really good skills.
In the first race, you had during the qualifying, Bryce had an issue with his computer with the car. He never got a lap.
Yeah,
he didn't get a flying lap. I think he ended up qualifying 21st out of 22. But you were saying they plugged the computer into the ECU in the pits. Not allowed to do that. You're starting from the back of the field.
Yeah, so he ended up relegated to last anyway.
But the race that he did on Friday was amazing. He drove from last to 8th in the old spec car, and he was just, like he said, that car was on rails on Friday. He was just carving the field up. He
was absolutely ruthless. If there was a spot, he was in it, and clean too. And
there was one point I was actually watching this in my room. My brother come in and was watching it with me, and he was like, "Oh, how's Bryce going?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's good watching this." And he's coming through just past turn 9 through that sort of back section before you get into the last turn. I don't know what it's really called. It's got the Farmers Union Bridge and stuff. But one of the cars tapped him. Like, he's tried to pass, he's tapped him, knocked him out wide. And
he started sliding.
And then the camera cut to a different angle. And I'm just going, no, he's just gone into the wall. And then he's gone around the car and kept going. And it was like, I don't know how you did that, mate, but fantastic. Keep going. And it was great to see. So then he finished 8th. And then on the Saturday race, because there was only one qualifying session all weekend. It was where you finish is where you start. Unfortunately, a few cars got caught up with a penalty they had their tyres under a shade structure or something. I'm not 100% sure, but I know Jack Perkins got done for it as well. 5 grid place penalty. Poor bloke. Just everywhere he finished, he had to get pushed back further down because it was like that was a team penalty. It was nothing of his doing.
Yeah.
Start 13th in the next race. Worked his way up. He had a good start. I think he got up into the top 10. He actually did a good pass around Gary Jacobson. Yeah. I was like, yep, cool. That's a top FGX pro drive car.
That's last year's championship winning car.
Went around him. Then there was a part there where he sort of got held up. There was a slow moving car trying to go into the pits. He wasn't pulled over.
No, he was in the racing line still.
Yeah, and then Bryce has tried to go around another car. I don't know who it was, but he's ended up on the grass.
Yeah.
And I've gone, oh no.
Yeah, it did look like at first glance when he come off, I thought, here we go, he's in the fence. But nope, managed to hold on to it and
dropped back to 18th. Still drove up to 12th.
Yeah, the pace he's got at the moment, he's unstoppable. It's absolutely
He was really good during
how quick he is.
The Bathurst 12 hour when he was in the combined sedans.
Yep.
Had that pace. I know he was in a much faster car compared to the rest of the field. There was a small group of old ex-supercars.
Yeah.
But still, his pace that he showed that weekend was amazing. And he showed pretty good, decent pace out of the car this weekend.
Yep. He's got the confidence in the car now, so I think watch this space.
This is his 3rd season in there. He's got the understanding.
Once he gets in a car of the future, watch out, people.
Should we talk about race 3?
Race 3, geez, what a shambles.
We both said this you actually said this on Sunday when you come around to watch the second race of the supercars. If a driver jumped the start or messed up the start that bad, they'd have the rule book thrown at them.
Yeah, definitely, yep.
Now, if you don't know what we're talking about, it's the start of race 3 in the Super 2s. The lights flashed twice before they went out. You can see it. It's gone red, off, and then off. And like Andrew Jones, he took off straight away when it first went out and managed to pull up before he went into the back of, I think it was Shay Davies. It was one of the Nissans. And of course, as soon as he went, a few other cars were like, oh, yep, cool, lights are out. I mean,
Well,
these
the
guys
reaction
are trying to get
times
their
were
reactions down. As soon as you see that
perfect.
lights going, you want to go. You don't want to be going, oh, did it really go out? It might come back on. You don't think about that light going back on.
Yep, agreed.
Sort of judges why the guys in front didn't launch straight up.
Yeah, it's unfathomable how it was allowed to go on too. Like maybe they didn't realize what was happening up in the starter box, but maybe they didn't realize it had flashed or whatnot. But it should have just gone as soon as he jumped, and the lights had flashed off and back on. Someone should have hit the abort button.
Yeah, and then I don't think the lights just flash yellow or something.
They just flash yellow, and they do another warm up lap, and they regrid, and then they will assess while they're doing their next warm up lap whether Andrew Jones gets a penalty or whatnot. They didn't, and it cost a lot of money.
That was a big mess up. And Brad Jones said they interviewed Greg Murphy, or it wasn't Greg Murphy.
Yeah, I think Greg Murphy.
Greg Murphy's a commentator for
Yep.
the Super 2, so he would have been up in the box.
You're
so
right.
probably
you're
would have
right.
been
Greg Rust or someone.
Greg Rust is a commentator there too. It would have been another field reporter in there. But they asked him, Andrew did a good job at stopping up there, and he's like, I wouldn't have stopped. The lights went out.
Yeah, as far as
where the race started.
Yeah, as far as the rules go, the lights went out. The race was on.
Just the biggest thing was once this whole debacle happened, like there's another car gone. I actually agreed with Tim Edwards when he said, yeah, right, it's our car's ruined, but we got to ask why this happened. You can't allow this to keep going on. You can't have cars getting wrecked on the start because of something that the supercar officials did.
Yeah, it's that's the big thing, I think. It was just pretend it didn't happen. Like I'm sure they'll look into it and try and work out what's going on and why it happened and stuff like that. But it just seems like if a driver made such a big error like that, there would be some pretty big consequences from it. Now, V8 supercars have made a huge error here. Costs maybe, I don't know how much money Josh Keen's team have. Obviously a substantial amount because they've pushed LeBrock out of his team to take his seat. But where do you...
Someone's got to pay for that
100
car.
grand, 50 to 100 grand, I reckon, is damage there.
And
All
then
over a silly
after,
mistake.
even once all of this happened, then the supercar officials said, all right, everyone get back into your starting positions where you started from, behind the safety car. And you're like, but they're counting down laps.
Yeah. And it took too long.
Yeah, it did.
6 laps.
6 laps under the safety car. Like, this is where Bryce jumped up to, I think, got up to 9th from the start. Because he took evasive action on the grass, got around a few cars. And then they all trotted around the safety car, and they're like, oh, everyone's got to get back. So you had to drop back to 16th. And then you've got only 6 laps of actual... I think they only did 6 or 7 laps under green flag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you had Todd Hazelwood right on the back of Dumbrell. Because Dumbrell, as much as I know why he's in the development series to keep that track time up, but I'm sort of going, I'd much prefer a younger driver, be more competitive, than always having him in the best car, purely because, we know he's there to get the seat time, and the sponsors want to sponsor a car that's going to be winning.
It is funny, but because the last couple of years he's been in an old spec car and run midfield. He's only every now and then his skills brought that car up a little bit further. So it has been interesting seeing him in a new spec car, and all of a sudden he's back up the front.
We've seen this. We see this every endurance season.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I understand that he's there to get seat time for enduros and stuff like that, because he did drop the ball a couple of years ago. Was not so good in enduros and made a few big mistakes. Saying that, we were talking about this yesterday. He made a pretty substantial mistake in the last race just from the pressure.
Pressure Todd put on. Because Todd was just right there. He did everything he needed to. And then I think it was turn 4.
Just got on the lumps on the outside there, locked the wheel.
It is a tough track. It is very bumpy. You don't really notice it just looking. Oh, you do when you see the cars go over it. But just looking at the track, you think it's nice and flat. It's just a road. It's a street track.
Yeah.
Your roads aren't flat. Just hit that bumps, just unsettled that car and just slid out wide. Todd saw his opportunity and just took it.
Yep.
And it was good to see. I was very happy to see Todd. I'm always happy to see someone win their first race.
Yeah, and someone that's a campaigner that's trying so hard to get out there as well. Todd's not one of these kids that's come from a very, very well-off family that are super rich and he's not a Kostecki or someone like that just buy their own cars and buy their own truck. Now they've built their own shed or something, or renting their own shed next to Triple Eight.
And there's 3 of them. There's 3 bloody Kosteckis in the race now.
Yeah, there's a cousin now as well.
Cousin Brody, who has come back from doing NASCAR over in America.
Yeah.
He took a little bit to get used to the cars here.
Oh, it's a big difference.
He put it into the wall during qualifying. He was one of the reasons why they had one of the red flags.
Yeah, it's a big difference from NASCAR to a V8.
But he did all right, by the end of it. Something that did happen at the last corner of the race in Dunlop Super 2s was
bit of a
mix-up with Jack Perkins. He hit a few cars.
Yeah, I don't think Jack did it on purpose. He's
No.
not that type of racer, but yeah, he got in the back of, I can't remember, was it a Kostecki or something?
Yeah.
And then
then Shea Davies got caught up. I think 4 cars all got caught up. And our mate Bryce managed to squeeze through and jump into the top 10. I think he finished 9th, and then Jack Perkins actually got a 15-second post-race penalty for that. Pushed Bryce up to 8th.
Yeah,
So-
it's a really solid weekend for Bryce.
Yeah, he's 8th overall in the standings. I mean, I know this is only 1 round in, but it was a good, solid result. And I know we've talked about this a lot, but he's a territory boy. We're territory boys, so we're supporting him 110%.
Yeah, and a good guy too. So
But that's pretty much all we've got for the Super 2s. And we've had a few requests to follow the development series a bit more. So we will be following that a bit more this season than what we have in the past.
Yeah, we've had a couple of emails and people want to know a little bit more about it. So we'll touch on that a bit more this year and try and get some interviews if we can with a few of the drivers.
So let's jump on to race 1 of the supercars, because the top 10 shootout and that was great to watch. I love watching top 10 shootouts and the qualifying, but the main thing is the race.
The races were not too bad this weekend either. It's a lot of stuff going on the whole race.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting 250 kilometres actually.
It was. So we had that Slade and Percat incident. This is what caused a few issues throughout that sort of concertina effect from that race. So you had them come off. That was no race. That was a racing incident. Apparently, there was no drama there, no penalties. Apparently, you can put your teammate into the wall. But they were buddy on Sunday in front of the TV cameras.
Yeah, I think they're close enough that I don't think that affected them. I think there was a bit of a misunderstanding of whether room was being given or not, and whether the pass was on or not.
Was a bit quick. He was quicker. I was watching the second times and stuff, and he was quicker before all of that come through. His car had the pace. I think he's just a little bit wide on that exit, and he just bumped Slady into the wall.
Yeah.
At least
Took a bit of the curb on the inside, I think, when he come in too, and it sort of just bumped him out into Slade. And
I think it's turn 7, that curb. Like, some people don't use it. Some people use all of it. Some people just go over the top of it. It's a very odd curb, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It
must really unsettle the car a bit.
Shows how good the shocks are in these V8s, hey? To get good drive as they straddle a big curb, and it's amazing how good they are.
That brought out the safety car. Well, actually, that incident didn't, but there was some panel work or there was some debris on the track because of that.
The inner guard or something fell out, I think, as well.
So we've all backed up. And after, I think it was 2 laps or something under the safety car, but the lights went out. And McLaughlin was still weaving.
Yeah. Now, I don't blame McLaughlin so much for this. This is probably...
Ludo needs to get on the radio and tell. I think you should... I would assume that all engineers, as soon as those lights go out, they would be on the radio to the drivers going, lights out.
The engineers have a bit of a checklist in their head of stuff that they need to prompt the drivers. Drivers are pretty busy out there. The engineers are pretty busy in the sheds as well. But the drivers are pretty busy out there focusing on everything. Scotty might not even be able to see the lights on the safety car. He might, but he might not as well. So he's sitting there trying to do what his job is to keep brakes, tyres in the optimum temperatures. So when the restart goes on, it goes on. Ludo's there. When the lights go out, all the teams get a thing on the monitors, and Ludo's there to go bang on the radio. Scotty, all right, restart, starting, no weaving, hold your position, hold your speed, don't pass until you go over the line. It's just a prompt. It's not like Scotty doesn't know that rule already. It's just a prompt.
A bit of thing in the head to go, yep, no worries, they're out. But then also you got to think like, I'm not slamming Scotty here, but you got to look around. You're the only car weaving.
Well, and I think that's why he stopped so quick. I think he got prompted by everyone else's not weaving.
Because he didn't weave much. He sort of did two. I think he did two motions and then stopped. And the commentators said, I think Scafie was saying, someone's dobbed him in.
Oh,
it's probably the car behind him.
Yeah, I think it was Winterbottom, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think it was Winterbottom behind him.
Yep. Yeah, and that's fair enough. That's what
you do. You're not there to make
part
friends.
of racing, isn't it? Really. That's a spot that Winterbottom made up. So, and that's nothing against Winterbottom, but it's just part of racing.
Is a drive-through worth the crime? Is that penalty?
I think this is what we were going to touch on, wasn't it? We've got a few things here to. I don't think a drive-through fitted 2 or 3 weaves. I think maybe a 5-second penalty. I think we need to look at it. A lot of penalties in our rule book, drive-through seems to be the penalty that we give. I think we need to pull back from that. Substantial, you put someone in a fence and it looks like it's 90% your fault or 100% your fault. I think what they want now.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Drive-through. That's a pretty big thing. That person's out of the race. You've ruined their race.
You wreck a car.
You should be. Your race should be ruined too. But like a curb hop or a weave, I think they've seen. Your dad actually brought up.
He did
a really convincing argument yesterday, and we were watching the race actually with Michael's father, Martin. He's a good listener of ours as well, and he's right into the racing as well. And he brought up that maybe we should be tailing down maybe from 3 to maybe 2 warnings, and then on your third you get a 5-second penalty or a 2-second. This is curb hops, or a 2-second warning, penalty, and then you do it a third or fourth time, you get a 5-second. You do it a 5th time, it's a drive-through.
Yeah, he was comparing it to a bit like footy with AFL. You'd give someone in the back. All right, that's not a huge crime to say. You give out a free kick. If you do something a bit more serious,
if it was
50-meter penalty. Yeah, you give them away 50. And if you do something really bad, you get reported, which is the equivalent of a drive-through. Where people here are just doing that small mistakes, which should just be a free kick to the other team, and they're getting a full report. They're going drive-through, especially in this track.
Ruin someone's race. I think the best thing your dad put up, argument-wise, is that's ruined some supporters' races as well. There's people that'll walk away from the TV because all of a sudden their driver's gone from, like Scotty, gone from in contention.
It was 7th or something, and then to 17th. And he was never going to catch up.
The race was over, sort of thing. You can't push through a class field like this easily enough. So, that was basically his race over. And I think that was a very valid point. We're ruining spectators, fans' races as well by penalising so heavily over meteoric, bloody, not that great.
Scotty's weaves didn't give him an advantage over anyone else.
Yeah, they weren't dangerous. They were, I understand why they've got the rules, and the rules need to be enforced. Otherwise, people will just start overstepping rules left, right, and centre. That's very true. But we need to maybe make the penalty fit the crime, and I don't think the drive-through fit that crime.
No, and the especially with the curb hop, it's that ruined Reynolds' race as well.
Yeah. And
I understand. All right, stay off the curbs. Clipsal's. How many times you see some people go over those curbs and they don't get a strike? And you're like, what, did you not get a strike because all 4 wheels were in the air? And you technically, you're like, oh, you didn't go over them. I flew over the whole thing. And they didn't go. And even Scafie and Ingle were saying, or Scafie and Crompton through the race were going, oh, Oh, you didn't get a curb strike. Like Todd Kelly did a couple.
Yep.
Flew over it, and you can see on the camera, all your wheels went on that curb. Like, no wheel was
Yeah,
on the
yeah, I
outside
agree.
yellow line, and he didn't get a strike.
I agree. It's inconsistent, and I know we can't get into that sort of game like, oh well, I've got footage of all these other cars doing 4 curb hops and whatnot, but the penalties don't seem to fit.
Nah, maybe just a 5-second penalty. You do it 3 times. Like, you do your 3 strikes, you get your black flag.
Yeah,
Fourth,
and that's my view as well.
yeah,
I think
5
three
seconds.
warnings, three times a warning, and then fourth one you get a 2 or a 5.
Yep.
Something that's going to fairly penalise your race, but not ruin it.
Yeah, say
Maybe
if you
lose
go
a
over
position or two.
Yeah.
Or if it finishes under safety car, it could be quite a lot of positions. But fans are still going to watch that person racing up the front. Like it might affect their official finish, but we're still going to watch them racing in contention with other cars.
Yeah, and especially if they know they've got a 5-second penalty, that driver's going to push because you're like, oh, shit, now I've got to make up those 5 seconds at the end. Instead of going a drive-through and then you're going, oh, look, mate, we're in the middle of a gap. You've got no cars around you now. The next car behind you is like 30 seconds behind you. Just coast around and finish the race. Don't wreck the car.
What did you think of sorry, this is jumping away from that sort of a little bit. On the Sunday when they didn't tell Scotty he had already done 3 jumps and they just said, stay off the curb.
Nah, you should tell him.
Because I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, and we had a talk about this, is going, he needs to know. Scotty needs to know that he's got the 3 strikes instead of just going stay off the curbs, because they could, as far as he's aware, he could just be like, oh, all right, they're just seeing me on the camera going over those curbs.
Yeah, maybe they're worried about bending an upright or something like that.
Yeah, but not like when you've got Shane, because like we were both saying we knew Shane didn't have the 3 strikes. He didn't get the black flag up against the name, and like 5 laps to go.
So he had at least 1 left in his repertoire.
And like 5 laps to go, you're saying to me during the race, like, Shane should just straight line it. Do it far enough back from the race, like with a few laps to go, that he'll get that advantage, catch up, that it's not going to be like he's just cut through the whole straight. Like,
My view was basically if I was in Shane's boots, I wouldn't want me jumping the curb and gaining, say, a couple of tenths of a second on 1 lap and then getting the pass at the next corner to make it look like I cheated. So what I would... It's showing a little bit too much, but I would do it the lap or 2 before that I was not quite at Scotty, so that I could get a better run at Scotty and get to Scotty sooner, so I could put him under more pressure for longer for Scotty to make a mistake. Shane didn't need this, but...
No, and this is, like, what we're saying is not new. Like, no one listening to this is going, oh, God, you guys are geniuses for thinking this. It's been done before.
It's true.
But... yeah, we'll finish up on the Saturday race still. The Frosty and Win Cup incident, that was a...
It's a mixed review of
it
what
is.
everyone thinks
Depends
of it,
on
isn't
who
it?
you go for. If you got blue eyes or red eyes, is if it was the worst decision on the planet, or if it was just like, well, they're the new rules.
I kind of... probably showing my hand again here a little bit, but I kind of feel like if that's going to be the consistent way that they're going to look at it, game on.
Yeah.
Let's keep playing at those rules. I couldn't see 100% who was at fault there. So the new rule was if they're not at 100% at fault, they don't get a drive-through. And that's fair enough, I guess, if that's the new rule.
And it was a post-race investigation. And like you do see, like, it depends on who you ask, really. Was Win Cup up alongside the B pillar? I think he was.
At one point,
At one point he was. And then, of course, like, the issue was he did it at turn 5, which is a very odd... It's not a common overtaking spot.
Yeah.
Win Cup didn't... not Win Cup, sorry. Frosty really didn't give him a full car width. We did, if you class the concrete wall...
The curb as the...
Yeah, as the track. But the curb's not the track. The curb's on the outside of the track. The track's the yellow line before the curb.
Yeah.
That's where he needs to give the full car width, and he didn't give that. The incident happened. They touched. Frosty got spun around. You know, Lowndes was the beneficiary from that.
Yeah, he was
Good
the
on
right place at the right time.
Yeah, I don't think there's much for that, but a precedent has been set, and that's the main thing. We need to keep consistency, because if this happens again and then they do get a penalty, you know, that's when fans are going to turn off on this. We just need to know that if that's what you're sticking to, then you're going to do that the whole season.
Yeah, I agree.
And it kind of was. They in race 2, James Courtney hit Simona. No penalty from that either. That one was a bit different. But
Yeah, that one was a bit... I guess what they looked at was not 100% her fault or his fault, was the fact that maybe she wasn't quite off the line enough as she was coming into pit lane. She should have moved over to the right a little bit more because she was pitting. She kind of blocked the racing line and slowed in the racing line. James obviously wasn't ready for it.
He didn't really have anywhere to go either.
Yeah, and he obviously wasn't ready for it, so he's tagged her, spun her out, and pumped her up the arse.
Yep.
Not sure if James or her were into it.
All right, so race 1, Shane ended up he was untouchable by the end of it. 15-second lead.
Yeah,
That's like, and considering Bathurst got brought down to like, next to nothing, to have a 15-second win is just a real dominant display. A lot of people didn't realize, but Lounsey lost a lot of positions towards the end of the race, and it didn't get announced on that day, but on Sunday they came out and said they ran out of fuel. They had no fuel in the car.
fuel, yeah.
He dropped a lot of positions. He just couldn't keep up.
He wasn't giving it full throttle down the, from turn 8 sort of thing. And people were just passing him easy down the straight.
It was sad to watch.
I think Percat even gave him a wave as he went past.
Yeah.
There's footage of him waving at the car.
Hello.
Yeah.
Waters did a great job on the Saturday, 4th.
Isn't he looking better since they really plugged it a lot on the race weekend, actually. I thought that was a bit strange. But about, how he's done some driver education sort of stuff over in Europe and some more training and stuff to get fitter so he can endure the races a bit better. But he really drove a lot better this weekend than he did last year.
Yeah.
More confidence and just better all round, pretty much.
This is his 3rd season now? Second
season.
Second in the full game. So he must be feeling... He knows the guys now. He's had 12 months with the team. He's probably feeling a lot more confident. And, yeah, good on him. I want to see him do well because a lot of people don't remember, but Cam Waters, I think he got discovered on that TV show.
He did. He got discovered on when the Kelly boys were doing the, come test and do all the jump through all the hoops and getting a.
And then he did that
drive.
big spin out on the top of Bathurst with Grant Denyer.
Yeah, and wrote the car off in the.
No, he didn't hit the wall on that one, but he did hit the wall later on.
He did hit the wall in his first lap in the actual race, but.
Yeah, he did. How do you rate Simona Di Silvestro's first race?
Pretty solid, really.
She kept up with the pace, which was good.
Yep.
And I didn't expect her to go out and fly, through the field and stuff. But as one of the 2 rookies in the field, she did the better job.
Yeah, I think she did quite a good job, really. She did all you could really ask from someone that hasn't driven a V8 supercar around a street circuit before. It's a big ask. Very high commitment track. Clipsal and Gold Coast, to get lap time, some of these, I think it's one of the reasons the HRT cars used to be up there so far, is I think half of it was commitment and balls from Tander and Courtney in the car that actually got the car further up the field. I do understand there's aspects of their car that probably suited those tracks more, but I think having good drivers at those sorts of rounds helps you get your car towards the front compared to some other rounds where maybe the driver isn't as integral to your pace compared to car pace.
No, I was very impressed with how she did. Alex Rulio.
Tell it how it is, Michael. You tell him what time it is.
You tell him. I'm going to tell you what time. No, look, I think he's too slow, but
That's sugar-coated, everybody.
It is. I have to. I'll be nice. Look, I had a night to sleep on it. He's slow, but he did everything he needed to do. He kept that car straight. He didn't hit the wall. He'd had a couple of near offs.
He had that. I can't remember what turn it was.
We had one on the straight where he ended up on the dirt and he almost pitched it into the pit wall.
That I think that might even be the one I'm talking about. It sort of went a bit of a fishtail in the straight line. I was like, whoa, hold on to it, boy.
I was talking to my mate through the race because we were both like, all right, how's he going to go? Yeah. And I'm like, 3 laps down or turn 8. And unfortunately, Bryce, I was
Bryce.
like, I sent my mate a message like, this is what will happen. And it's a video from Bryce from last year.
Okay, yes.
Smashing
turn
into
8.
turn 8. I said, I think this will happen. Didn't happen. So I'm actually glad that he kept the car straight because no one expected him to set the field alight. He did finish 2 laps down on nothing but pace. Like he was just slow. But I think he's going to get his license. Like this, he will get a license for the next round. He didn't do anything dangerous. Everyone.
He impeded Rick Kelly in qualifying, and Rick wasn't overly happy about it and showed him in the race when he sort of swerved towards him when they were going down the straight.
Oh, yeah, he did, eh?
Yeah, that was quite interesting. I was like, woohoo! Bit of passion there from Rick.
Yeah.
He didn't say so much in the interviews when they asked him about it.
No, because in the interview, he was just like, oh, he's a young guy having a crack at it.
Yeah.
But during the race, he was probably a little bit...
Fuck off.
It was a bit hot. I mean, Taz Douglas got taken out of the car. The team called him in. He said, you're speaking gibberish on the radio, mate. You need to come in.
They dunked him in the ice bath and sent him back out there to fry.
The ice bath, the Lucas Dumbrell's ice bath is a wheelie bin filled with
it's
ice.
high tech, mate.
Gary Rogers is
blow molded plastic. Let's give it a good name.
It's even got the red lid to stop the flies. No.
Sponsored by Veolia.
No, but all in all, race 1 was good. This is going to be a long episode, so we jump on to race 2. Yeah, start of race 2, McLaughlin and Fabian. Good launch off the line.
Yeah, I think that's that
Shane,
soft rear end is helping them get off the line a bit better.
That, and they have to be starting with higher pressures in their tyres because they did it on both races. They drove away at the start, and then the rest of the field caught up.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, Shane caught up.
Yeah. It could be also maybe a bit of their setup. It hurts their tyres a little bit more as well, the setup, how they got the car.
Yeah.
So, but I do agree. I think it's a pressure thing because they definitely drive away at the starts, and then they really come back to the field in a bad way.
Yeah.
For how much pace they have at the start, they pay for it and like double. When the tyres start to go off, they're a lot slower than... So the Red Bull cars seem to be heaps more consistent on their tyres. So they're not blowing the doors off anyone at the start like the DJR Penske cars are.
The DJR team cars were a lot faster at the start of the race. And Scotty come out at the end and said, he wasn't fully happy with the car, like the rear of the car. He wasn't happy with the rear brakes and the rear
stability,
tires.
yeah.
The tires were shot by the end of it. And you just look at it, once again, you guys know what we're like. We're all over the shop when we talk about the race. Scotty had a 7-second lead with 10 laps to go, and Shane won it by 10.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's...
As soon as Shane got past,
the last lap, Scotty lost 7 seconds.
Well, the only person that was slower around the track than Scotty on the last lap was Alex Rulio.
Yeah, Scotty made that one mistake, but I think Scotty was driving a bit of a wounded car that had no rear tyres left on the thing because it was skating a little bit. He was ringing it out.
He was doing everything he could to keep Shane behind him, and then once
I think he was
if not when, if it was when.
I think they both were using the same tactic of, well, you know what? I'm going to put the pressure on you, and so Shane's going hard at Scotty, like I'm putting the pressure on you, Scotty, to go faster, and Scotty's going, nah, I'm going to put the pressure on you. I'm going to go faster, and you can try and catch me because I've got pace still, and then it sort of just didn't work out. Maybe Scotty needed to back off a few laps earlier, just calm it a little bit and go, Shane's not got so much pace over me that when he catches me, he's not just going to scream past me easily. Scotty's got really good drive, you know what I mean? Like, there's a few things in hindsight. I think that's why Scotty's probably a little bit disappointed in himself. I don't think it's just because he drove a great race. He's got to be happy with second. You really have to be happy with it.
Well, this was stark contrast from a few years ago when Scotty was the happiest bloke ever coming second.
Yeah.
And yesterday, he was the saddest bloke on the planet.
Yeah, I think he... It's sad. It's kind of sad, I think, that he was so disappointed.
He put so much pressure on himself, and it would have been a great win. You have new team, first race weekend, you've gone out and you won. But I mean, Dr. Ryan Story came and said, Scotty has nothing to say sorry for. the two, Fabian and Scotty, in the Shell V-powered racing cars, fantastic job. More than what
Yeah.
you would expect. I expected them to be strong, but I didn't expect them to be that strong.
Yeah. I was impressed with it.
What do you think about Whincup now, like number 2 driver at Triple Eight?
It does seem it, doesn't it?
He was very angry after qualifying with
Yeah.
himself. He was like 1/10 down, and he was
Half
like
a tenth.
half a tenth down on his teammate, and he was like, basically, he was
Bitter.
talking like it was the end of the world. Like, well, if you're that slow, what's the point of even rocking up?
Well, they might as well start replacing me now. I don't know whether the car development has gone away from his way or something's
I don't know
happened.
if
I'm
you're
not
aware,
sure.
but this is the first time since 2008 that Jamie hasn't won on the opening weekend of the Supercar Series.
Wow. That's huge. That's probably why he's so bitter.
Yeah. And he did, like, there was an interview, Murph interviewed him after the race and said, look, I don't want to take anything away from Shane. He did a great job. He's not disappointed with the team. He's like, maybe I didn't prepare well enough in the off-season before it. He said he's going to go away,
Evaluate what
evaluate,
went wrong.
do some training, get back into it. And Jamie's going to bounce back. He's a 6-time champion. You don't need to win every race to be champion.
You do if someone
Fucking
else
helps.
wins every race.
It does. But
Well, you
it's
become
a
champion a lot faster that way.
it's a long season. Don't write Jamie off yet. Is basically
there's
what I'm saying.
There's a lot of stuff to go down yet. He's a good driver, and I don't see it continuing to be a one-sided battle.
Should we talk about Lounsey? Because he had the issue on Saturday with the fuel, but
Well, he didn't have the pace all weekend.
no, he didn't qualify very well any day, and he hasn't been qualifying great lately.
I don't think we were talking about it earlier, and my view is not that I don't think he's lost his driving edge or anything like that. I think he's maybe not committed as much as Shane and Jamie are, but I think it's more an engineering.
He's had to get Ludo, love him or hate him. He's a car builder.
Yeah.
That's what he's done. He engineers the
designer.
car design. He's not an engineer, like a race engineer as such. He was animated as hell this
He
weekend.
seemed a lot more passionate now he's at DJR, and I don't know if that's because he's more of a head role. So at Triple Eight, there's so many big engineers there.
There's so many big names at Triple Eight.
Yeah, so it's very hard for you to be a main guy there. So where at DJR, maybe Ludo's ideas have come through a bit more. So maybe he feels a bit more invested.
I mean, I'm not writing him off yet. I'm not putting money on him to win the championship or anything. I'll put money on him to win Bathurst. And I think that's one of the main things that he's in this championship for. Like, he's really in here for Bathurst.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit like that. It's like everything's geared towards Bathurst.
But, and we talked about this yesterday, but you guys don't know, but Paul Dumbrell needs to watch out, because if Lowndes decides, I've had enough of full-time racing and he wants to do endurance, Paul Dumbrell's getting the kick. Like, he's going to get the bullet.
Yeah, I think.
And Lounsey will team up with
Jamie,
because those two suit each other. Like, their driving styles.
Yeah.
They're good. I mean, they won the Bathurst 12-hour.
Yeah, I think those two go together like cocaine and hookers.
Yes, and blackjack. But yeah, so we'll see how he goes. It's the first race. It's still early. I mean, hell, last year Nick Percat won this race, and anything can happen. But I think this year the finishing order was a lot more.
We're reading a lot into one race.
One race weekend.
Yeah. We got to see
stop
some
at no
consistency.
point racing anymore. Shane's got this championship in the bag. All right.
All right, let's start 2018 now. Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes from now.
Oh, actually, something I do want to talk about. Our favourite little improved production car from the Bathurst 12-hour. We remember seeing him. He was doing great. He was that little Civic.
The Honda Civic
Civic that could. Now, I will put this in the show notes, but there's a video of him. And I don't know if you guys didn't catch it, you missed out on a hell of a race. But he does this amazing overtake. He was racing in 86, like an old one. Old Corolla 86. I think it was an 86.
Yeah, it was an
Yeah,
86.
I just know that because his number was 86 too.
Yeah.
The little Civic just doesn't have that straight line pace, but man, can he throw it through the corners. And the 86 got him on the straight line, on the pit straight. Then he's gone around the outside on turn 2, and I don't know how that thing gripped up and how he managed to get it around that. And those two drivers did a fantastic job. It's Jay Cox is the driver, I think.
I think that's his name. I'm
Yeah,
not sure,
I don't know, but mate, you guys
big
put on
shout out.
a big shout out to you, mate. You did a fantastic job this weekend.
First time I've seen a pass between turn 1 and turn 2.
Yeah, around the outside.
Yeah.
Normally it's like, inside I've pushed you out wide and, you go, but nah. Those little improved production cars are gone. And when I first saw that improved production were going to be racing in Adelaide, I was like, because normally the utes are there. And the super utes we know aren't going to come until Townsville.
Yeah.
So they had to get an extra category in. And, mate, the racing that those improved production cars put on, fantastic.
Yeah, it was really good, actually. I was really impressed.
I think that's us. Done and dusted.
There's not too much with the F1. They've got another practice week, I think, this week as well.
Yep.
There'll be a lot more development parts, I think, that would have been built over the last week to come to the track to be bolted on and try a lot of different things now. We might see some different pace from the cars as well towards the end of the week where people might sort of
go for
try
some
and
outright pace.
yeah,
and
try
like,
and
all right,
go
let's,
at the
get on
moment, I think a lot of the teams are just going for reliability runs and just getting the balance of the car, trying to get the balance of the car right and stuff like that. And feeling what the new tyres, like really, the new tyres are going to be a big thing in this year. So
They will. So yeah, also, sorry guys, I've been flat out at work. So if you've noticed, our Facebook page has had nothing on it for a while. I'll try and get back onto that, but our main thing is this podcast. So we'll always keep doing this. If I've gone away from the Facebook for a bit, I'm busy.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
but still free, keep sending in any of your questions, your emails. I'll always, we'll get on the best to answering that. If you guys want us to follow any other series, we will be we'll be looking at trying to get a bit more of the Formula Renault 2.0 series. Want to see how Thomas Maxwell goes this year.
Yep.
That starts up, I think, next month. So we'll get onto that.
If you got anything that you think that we might have missed or anything as well and you want us to touch on, send it through.
Yes.
Anything interesting also that you've seen that other people haven't noticed, send it through to us and we'll talk about it.
So anyway, don't forget to shoot through any emails at breakinglate@gmail.com or head to our Facebook page, facebook.com/breakinglate. That's us. We'll catch you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yep. See you around the bend, mate.
No worries. Catch ya.